Okay, so it is now 4:18 p.m. We've come out of executive session and no actions were taken in executive session. All right. So the next item in the agenda is to do a website review and walkthrough. So I'm going to share my screen. There's Jose. And we could probably talk about this all day, but we have a number of items under section 8. Many of these are very fast, but I think let's allow ourselves 20 minutes for that. So we'll take maximum of 22 minutes on the website and then we'll get into updates. Does that work for everyone? Okay, great. All right, there's CrowdFiber. All right, so would you guys like me to walk you through the website, or have you guys been looking at it and have areas of commentary? I'm seeing yeses and nos, so what would you like?
Yeah, I don't need to see slide by slide. I've stared it, gone over it a couple times. I'm satisfied with it. I gave you some comments, and I haven't, either you'll take them into account or you won't. But I'm done.
Yep, I sent comments from Steve, and Zapata also submitted comments. I sent those on to London Middlebury. Have not checked to see if they've all been implemented yet. It's been a particularly busy time.
You sent it to Zapata. Did you send it to the entire governing board?
I sent it to the entire governing board, and Zapata replied.
Good.
And she had
Great.
Excellent and quite comprehensive feedback. So gold star for Zapata, who's not here. Okay, so I think maybe for those of you who haven't seen the website, or I'll just give a really quick overview and then can answer any questions anyone has. So this is kind of a typical homepage. The top line messaging here is focused, as we have talked about, on people's primary consideration is speed, price, and customer service, and then secondary consideration is the local aspect, local ownership, keeping money in Vermont. So the messaging throughout the website is now consistent with that. The photography throughout the website is photographs that are from Addison County. So either they are from that first photo shoot that some of you participated in that we did, or we have licensed some aerial photographs for the towns. So we're actually now showing Addison County, which is really, really super.
Do you think that we're seeing it, Ellie?
Seeing what?
The website right now.
Oh, am I not sharing? I'm sorry. I apologize. I did think that you were, and you're not.
There we are.
Thank you. All right, great. So there's the website. So speed without excuses. And then the front and center on the website now is getting people signed up for service. So you can click Get Connected. That takes you to the typical CrowdFiber site that you're all familiar with. Or you can, we've now embedded a widget, as they say, on the homepage where you can enter your details here and it sends you straight in. And then there's also product information right on the homepage about the different speeds that we have and features, local imagery, and about Maple Broadband. I actually find this text to be so big it's hard to read, but you can't make everyone happy all the time. And then also educational information about fiber internet. So there's part of what we have now with the new website platform. Steve, I'm going to mute you because your typing is loud. Part of what we have now on the new website platform is there's a blog function, and so we can use that to create new pieces to educate customers about various topics. So there's some pieces that are in there now, which are linked from the FAQs. Actually, one of the things that I haven't had a chance to do yet is to go over all the FAQs and make sure that they're all fully updated and that they actually reflect the things that people are saying now. Because we ported a lot of those over from the old website and added some new ones, but that could use more work than I've had the time to be putting in. We've also now incorporated into the website's testimonials. So, and then, yeah, that's a speed test.
Yeah, Ellie, I noticed, that's the one that I noticed. You have to click on the picture to do the speed test.
Yep, okay. So I guess that feedback hasn't been incorporated yet because this is still taking you to CrowdFiber, which is not intuitive. Ooh, let's see what my speed actually is. Is it working? Well, that's not very good. Considering that I have gig service, I hope that's not actually accurate. Anyway, I'll test this offline. Anyway, moving on. That could be embarrassing. So the next major addition to the website is service by town, because we previously didn't have any town specific. And I think we had a page that talked about member towns. So this is showing the map. I think there's some enhancements. I don't know what that was, Jose. I need to look and see.
It'd be great if it was.
Yeah, right.
Because we're going to be catching all those pings.
Yep. Anyway, there's. I think Steve had some commentary about the usability of this map, which is accurate. But so, as I said the last meeting, we launched the website is not 100% perfect now, but it's better than what we had, and we didn't want to let perfection be the enemy of the good. So moving on, but continuing to refine. So we have town-specific pages now, which is really cool. So we can click on Cornwall, for example. I mean, I just love this picture of Cornwall. Like, you can tell that it's Cornwall. In Middlebury, you can tell that it's Middlebury. So it says, "Hello, Cornwall. Substantially complete. Get fiber will take you again to Crowd Fiber." The widget's here, and it has photos of your friendly Cornwall delegates. So Cornwall's a great example because we actually have photos of both of the delegates, but we don't. We have a little icon for where we don't have photos.
Yeah, I just generally wanted to comment, Ellie, the photos for each of those towns. Those are gorgeous. Are any of them stock, or are they all part of what one in Middlebury did? Like with drone shots and stuff?
Yeah, these are stock photographs that we licensed. So we had custom photographs for us, and then this is part of Caleb Kenna's stock photography. So we paid some money to be able to get access to some aerial photography. And yeah, I mean, some of them are like, I like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are not quite as nice. I mean, like, that could be anything. But yeah, continuing to refine. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it really has an Addison County look. And then the pricing page, this has been completely redone and now works better on mobile than that horrible thing that we had before. And broadband nutrition labels are there and fully in compliance with the federal requirements around them. There's a big gap here that shouldn't be here. But yeah, that's the pricing page. Other than that, it's really just been reformatted, so it now works and looks better. And then we have an account page that we didn't have before because we were taking that existing template and simply adding to it. So we have pay your bill, ways to pay and support. And so this now makes it more clear for the user where they go, and also examples of if you have this type of thing, who do you contact, which is really the same number, but at least you want to know, are you asking for customer service or technical support? And under About, this is where we have the mission of Maple Broadband and talking about the history of where we started, where we are, where we're going. And then this is where we have links to some of the blogs talking about the WCBT partnership. That was something that came out of the research. People didn't fully understand the nature of the partnership, and we want to be talking more about that so people can understand. And then what is a communications union district? So I don't know how many people will actually navigate to this portion of the page to be reading this content, but we can start to link to it from other places as well. So, and we can flesh out the educational content over time. And I also like this section here that's talking about what are some of the key differentiators or differences that Maple Broadband has in relation to the competition. So the local ownership, the community accountability, keeping profits local, and having a long-term vision that considers stakeholders and not shareholders. And a child with beautiful hair running through the grass, totally unstyled, I must add.
That's Maya, yes?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a younger version of Ellie, if you ask me.
Yeah, a little bit, in a lot of ways. Okay, and then finally governance, and this is the page where we have information about the boards and then the meeting documents. So this is the part of the website that I go to the most often to update the agendas and the minutes and the whatnot. So we have budgets and reports, policies and procedures. Before we had this all on one page, and so it was a little bit overwhelming to have multiple years on the one page. And then it's now much more clear if you're trying to find a policy or you're trying to find financial information, where to go. And then meeting documents is also more easily accessible. And so for years prior to 2025, it's not the best format, but you sort of have to like click through and find the date and find the whatnot. But from 2025 and going forward, we're going to have this nice. We're going to have a page like this for each year. So this is the governing board at the top, and it's all quite nicely laid out because I wanted people to be able to access things in one click rather than having to click multiple places to find things. So, and here we are. See, August. Oh, gotta fix. I'm not sure. I have to fix that sort order. Number 2 is showing up ahead of number 1. I don't know why that is. Number 1 is your previous meeting. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the new website. We have, I mean, all of the required disclosures are down here. There's still some things that we're adding. Like, for example, we didn't have, I'll talk about the TV streaming guide in a minute. We didn't have previously information about the VCBB's policies and our compliance with that and consumer complaints policy and whatnot. So we're going to be working on incorporating that. And then we also have the TV streaming guide, which I know we're linking to from our marketing materials. You can also get to it from here and probably other places too. But this is such a cool feature because one of the things when you're trying to get someone to switch from Comcast in particular is they're used to having cable TV and internet bundled together. And so one of the things that we've conceptually talked about doing is perhaps having education sessions to help people who might not be comfortable cutting the cable cord if they don't really know how a streaming service works, if they've never used them before, help them figure out which one is right for them and sign them up. Sort of like think of it as like a digital equity training, but for entertainment. But so what we have now is this is a self-service way to be able to figure out what streaming package you might want. So you click here and so this is the really cool part. So like if you watch, say, ESPN, great. You watch ESPN and it's going to show you which streaming services have ESPN. If you want to watch Disney because you like Disney, it shows you the different streaming services that have Disney and what their price is. And so the pricing is one of the things about streaming services is that the availability of different things, different things like Disney and ESPN on different streaming services and the pricing, A, it changes all the time based on content licensing agreements, and B, the price is different based on where you are in the country. So pricing and availability can be different based on where you are in the country. So this is actually custom for our area. So this is really cool. And this is a wonderful tool that if someone is trying to figure out how to switch from Comcast, they know the channels that they want. They can go type the channels in here and figure out which streaming service is going to give them the channels that they actually want at the lowest possible price, which is, I think, a great feature. So we're going to start sharing more of this.
But that's not a service that goes through WCVT.
No, this is not a service that goes through
Right.
WCBT. So
Right.
if you're wanting to watch, if you want to sign up for Fubo, you have to go to fubo.com and
Right.
sign up, and it
Right.
costs $85 a month.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited about this new feature as well. So anything else you guys want to see on the website or any questions or comments? I mean, as I said, we're going to continue to refine it, and it's not just now. So if you're going through this in a week or a day or a month and you see something that doesn't make sense to you, or you think is wrong, or a broken link or something, then please send them to me. I'll send them on to London Middlebury, and we'll continue to refine the website. And if you have any ideas about things you think should be on there, please feel free to share them. Okay. Thank you all for your attention. We can move now to the rest of the agenda. All right. So Section 8 updates, BEAD. So this is a short update. We submitted, as you all know, we submitted our BEAD application on whatever day was the deadline. I think it was Friday the 25th. And we received curing questions on Monday of this week. We had 2 curing questions, and we had 24 hours to respond. So we submitted that. I submitted that yesterday. And now we are waiting for the next step, which is scoring and whatever communication happens after that. So
Can you
I have
give
no
an
further
example?
information.
Can you give an example of a curing question, or is that not open session material?
No, I think it's fine. One of the curing questions, so we received 2, as I said, and they were both essentially about financials. So one of them is that we had to submit our audited financials for the previous financial year, which obviously we don't have because we are working on our 2024 audit as we speak. And so it asked for not only because it said you wanted the 2024 unaudited financials, and it wanted an additional report than what been submitted, and they also wanted an attestation that we understood it would comply with the reporting requirements under the financial reporting requirements under the grant. So, and then there was another one where the proof of funds, they wanted to make sure that our bank statements at the end of last year aligned with the balance sheet at the end of last year. So I had to go find the bank statements for the end of last year, make sure they all added up, and write a little cover letter explaining how to do that, because the National Bank of Middlebury's bank statement isn't as clear as what it might be because the period spans a year, so you have to go calculate it. And so just that sort of
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
it wasn't anything major.
Okay.
But obviously part of the mandatory gating criteria, you have to prove that you have technical, managerial, and financial capacity to be able to handle a grant of this nature and complexity and size. And so there was just a couple of additional bits of information we had to provide around our financial expertise and
Okay.
availability of funds. Okay, so that's all that I have on BEAD. We're waiting, hoping for a good result. Okay, so the 2024 audit. Lynn, do you want to give the headlines here, and then I can fill in on some details of what Darlene and I have been working on?
Sure. So we met with Bonnie, the auditor. Yeah, was that yesterday? This week, earlier, Monday.
It was
I
Monday.
guess.
It was Monday.
Yeah.
This week, I feel like it's Friday already, but it's Wednesday.
I know. I'm with you, Ellie. Anyway, we met with Bonnie because the hope is that we'll have the audit report by September 30th. And Bonnie is on board with doing that, moving us to the head of the line. And we received all the documents that we have to begin working on. So between Ellie and Darlene and myself and potentially Cy, we will get on that ASAP and get all of that back, because the sooner we get it back, the sooner Bonnie launches into her work. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. So it's a tight timeline, and I'm feeling like we can hopefully do that. The capitalization piece, Ellie and Darlene are working on. I think you're super close on that. I talked with Darlene today.
Yep.
And the conversation with Bonnie was great, because any of the places where, you know, we might hit a bump in the road that slows down the process has just been identified, and we all talked about, like, what does that mean? And it's nothing big. It's really just aligning with what Bonnie is looking for, and what us understanding what it is she wants. And some of this is, you know, about comments from the prior audit. So anyway, I think we're all on the same page. And Ellie, you can chime in here and talk a little bit about whatever you have to add, but I'm feeling confident that we can pull this off.
Yep, I think that all sounds good. So, as you said, Bonnie sent us a bunch of information, a lot of which we have seen in prior years. So it's kind of a matter of seeing what we submitted in prior years, updating to make sure it's all still accurate, and resubmitting.
Yeah.
And it's just your typical audit information. And some of the things that I want to get into the works as quickly as possible is we need to get year-end grant balance confirmations from VCBB. So I want to just double check. I want to get that out and send it over to the VCB, so we're not asking them for a unreasonably fast turnaround on those grant balances. And yeah, the asset capitalization there, I think we are in good shape. There's a couple of little niggly things that that I am hunting down between yesterday and today, and I have a call with Darlene tomorrow. But Darlene and I are having calls practically every day just to make sure that we are aligned on things. So as I said earlier, this other than responding to BEAD, this is basically and keeping the trains running, because there are sometimes things, like weekly meetings and urgent things that come up. But aside from that, this is my top priority. So it's getting all of my bandwidth right now. And yeah, I think the fact that we just completed 23, we do know how Bonnie wants things. And with the exception of Syracuse invoices, where we had like 140 of them or something stupid last year, we actually have a lot fewer transactions than we did in 22 and 23 to be worrying about capitalizing. So it's actually, that's Darlene and I were saying yesterday, consider that we just did 23. This is way simpler than 23. So we will, I think the report in 2 weeks' time will be the interesting one where you guys can see we should be in very good shape by then. And if we're not, then we can start to get worried. Okay. Anything on the audit? Okay. So Finance Committee, this is a regular agenda item. We have a meeting this Thursday, and the agenda for that is follow up from the last meeting and primarily discussing similar to what we discussed today in executive session here. And I also sent out the underlying financial model so that they could look at more details than just the PowerPoint version of the pro forma. Anything you want to say about the Finance Committee meeting tomorrow, Lynn? No? Okay. Any questions from anyone? Next time we meet, we'll have an update, I'm sure. Okay, Old Town Road. Steve, your baby.
Yep. So we've got we'll call it a tentative construction start at the beginning of September. I think it's going to be kind of depending on whether or not materials that everyone needs are in hand when the time comes. But regardless, that's the deadline we're working against. I have had several conversations with the construction company, Eustace Cable Enterprises, and asked them about pre-ordering materials so that we don't need to worry about not having what we need when we need it, even though we don't have a signed contract yet. And as a consequence of that conversation, we sent them a letter of intent, basically, which says we intend to engage in an agreement with you to contract with you to do this work. Here's the price that we're currently contemplating. And that was satisfactory. So they have ordered the materials that are needed to do the job. So that's one big critical path item that's sorted. The other item, I did receive kind of a word of caution from JSI, our engineering firm, regarding that $40,000 ticket that's on the current quote. And they think it's the way it's written. They're not locked into that. It's not a not to exceed. That's just a number. And I said, yep, that's correct. That's what it is. I think our expectation had been that we don't know how long it's going to take, because there's just so little factual information we have about the project. And we're kind of exclusively responsible for so much of it. So I spoke with Eustace about that too. And what he imagines is we have set in there 50 hours, which is kind of a week, give or take. And so what he says that they normally do is midweek, say Wednesday, after they start, they then have maybe a better understanding of what's ahead. And at that point, they can conclude that 50-hour allocation is sufficient, or if it is not, a suggestion on how much to tack on to it. And then that will be communicated back. And as you recall, you did give us some liberty to go up to 60K for that. And again, just to make it clear, and this is something that Ellie is going to be tapped into. Any decisions we made on allocating over and above that 40K number will be okayed by both Ellie and me. So that remains to be seen. We're going to continue to track it real closely. The only other item is that the contract, and we finally, I just looked and I did receive a draft contract from JSI, which would be the contract that's executed eventually between Maple Broadband and Eustace Cable Enterprises. And it includes insurance requirements and all the other expectation items. And with any luck, that will be in a condition after I review it. It'll be in shape to be sent on to Eustace, and then I think there's going to probably be contract negotiations, and But the good news is the key steps that need to be taken in advance to take into account lead times, that's all under control. So if it takes us a while to negotiate the agreement with Eustis, that's okay. We can tolerate that without impacting the project schedule. So overall, I think we're in good shape, and I'm glad that this is on the agenda for our standing agenda, because for sure I'll know a heck of a lot more about where we are at our August 20 meeting. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Okay, 2025 construction updates. So we had our weekly construction meeting with Syracuse and Mission this morning, and we spent about half of it talking about splicing one particular location, Orwell, which was fun. But the headline is that of the small amount of mileage that they're working on now, which I have here in my slides actually, it is 4.3 miles total of line extensions, mostly in the Go NetSpeed towns. There's the vocational way where they still need to hang the cable, but other than that, all the stranded cable is up. And so the aerial crew is going to go home shortly, and the splicing crew is going to come up ASAP. London didn't have dates, but I imagine in the next week or two. And there's not a ton of splicing to be done, so I would imagine, I'm not sure if it'll all be spliced and tested by our next meeting in 2 weeks' time, but I would be shocked if we didn't have these extensions up by the end of the month. So that will be exciting. And as I said earlier, there's, or as I said in executive session, a number of these extensions, I'm in personal contact with residents on these sections that are very excited for service. So it's just quite rewarding to be having those interactions with people who are excited to get broadband, wanting to have broadband, have felt unserved for a long time, and are now able to get service. Any questions on that? Okay. So the next update is the VCBB long drop request for applications. So VCBB announced in the Vacuda meeting last week that this request for applications is planned to launch again at the end of this month. I forget the exact date, but I put in my head it was at the end of this month, and the due date is going to be sometime in September. So it's going to be essentially the same as what it was before. So when I clear myself out of the time critical items on the audit, I'm going to have a look if the RFA is posted or an old RFA is posted. But anyway, I basically know what's in there, and I know the homework I need to do to prepare for that. So I'm going to start to get on that. And this is on the parking lot as well, but related to that, I've reached out to CVOEO again, because part of what we want to be doing for this RFA, but also just for ourselves in general, is doing eligibility verifications for qualifying households. And we did have a great conversation before my vacation, and then I went on vacation and got absorbed with other things. And so I'm now trying to circle back with them to figure out, are they willing to do that? And if so, on starting when and on what sort of terms and what basis, or not. So we'll let you guys know on that. Any questions or comments on this? Okay. Marketing updates. I feel like I've given a lot of these kind of piecemeal throughout the rest of the meeting, but we had field days last week, so I was at the table for quite a bit with Waits Fields. Mike Sheets was there, Matthew was there, Leslie Huston signed up, but I'm not sure if she actually went. I was on the earlier shift, but I had to leave to get back here for calls. But that was really good. It was nice, of course, to be there, and we just generally had good conversations and good feedback from people. Interestingly, it seemed like we had a lot more traffic a couple years ago when we weren't in service yet, and people were excited to know when they're going to get fiber. And now that we're an actual service provider, it's a little bit less exciting for people to come up to us. But that's fine. And one of the other things that I guess I could pick your brain about now, because we don't have too much else on the rest of the agenda, we have 13 minutes left, is there are a couple of events. There's some weekend events. There's the Virgins Energy Fair, there's Virgins Day, and then there's the Middlebury Wednesday markets. And there's not enough time available in my schedule, and sometimes schedule constraints or conflicts, like literally the Wednesday markets, that conflicts with the executive committee twice a month. So London Middlebury is going to be hosting a Zoom training for volunteers from the community who've expressed interest in volunteering for Maple Broadband. That's scheduled for the 28th, so we'll be doing that. I have had some conversations with them around how do we make sure that we have quality control, because we can't just give people a 1-hour training and release them to the hounds and expect them to be representing Maple Broadband properly. And also having some conversations around how many people do we want to have at these, because it could be good to have 2 people and not just 1, especially if 1 is a volunteer. But long story short, the challenge we find ourselves with is we have a lot more events where we'd like to have boots on the ground than we actually have available boots on the ground. So we would love to be able to get more participation from the governing board in particular. I mean, you guys already put in a ton of time in executive committee, and we don't need to get into it necessarily in this meeting, but I want to throw this out there as this is something which I would love to get some help with, assistance with. I mean, it might be something as simple as human-to-human contact of members of the governing board getting a personal email or call from people on the executive committee to say, please help. So it's not just me asking all the time. So yeah, if you have any thoughts now, otherwise thoughts after the meeting would be very welcome. Nancy, you're muted.
It would help me in thinking about this, and thinking about recruiting for it, or participating in it, that to have dates and times for the events, a list of dates and times.
Yeah, there is a sign-up sheet that's a Google sheet that's out there, but I haven't distributed it yet. And part of the reason I haven't distributed it yet is that I want to make sure that we're really clear on what the ask is. Because, like, for example, if a market is 2 to 6, your shift isn't 2 to 6 because someone has to go collect the tent and the table and the tablecloth and the whatnot, right? So we just want to make sure that we work all that in and are also really clear on what is the ask, not only in terms of time, but in terms of demands, right? Because because not all the Middlebury markets are by Triangle Park, and so we're trying to find also some local storage by there. I think we have an idea on that. But if, like, I think one of them is at Middlebury College, and so if someone's tabling that one, they're going to have a car, which I guess most people do, but that's also time that needs to be added into that.
Yeah.
So I think it's so absolutely. I mean, I've heard you, Nancy. That's absolutely something that we're working on. But
Okay.
it's more of just a general ask of, like, in general, how do we get people to sign up for these things? How do we persuade them to take time out of their schedule to help represent Maple Broadband in this way?
And
then,
how
yes,
do we
we'll
make
get
sure that
logistics.
if there are 2, assuming 2 people, that one of them is pretty confidently knowledgeable, or has a script to go by?
Yep, exactly that. So again, just throwing that out there for now. The Lulu event that has been, well, I've actually got a question to London Middlebury. They suggested a date. I said the date and time. I said that worked for me, and I haven't heard back but I also haven't checked the Google Doc to see if that's been confirmed. I believe the tentative date is the 17th, Sunday from 2 to 4. Yes, I put that into my calendar. So, but
What's that the date of?
the pop up with Lulu. So we're going to be having let people come through and see how fast the fiber internet is, chat to their neighbors about the advantages of Maple Broadband and fiber internet and all that good stuff, and have some ice cream. So, I mean, Lulu gets good foot traffic, and we'll be marketing it. They'll be marketing it. So that should be fun. So I need to actually confirm that for sure. And then, as previously promised, I will let you guys and Jose know, because I know we've had multiple discussions, but you guys want to know when this actually is so that you can show up if possible. So I'm pretty sure that's when it is, but I will confirm via email. And I think I mentioned this in executive session, but to say it in public session, the Aerial Now promo, where we send mailers to people who we believe qualify for free installations in the city of Regents, because we think that they can be connected quickly and cost effectively with Aerial. Those were meant to go in the mail today, and no one's told me that they haven't, which means they should arrive tomorrow. So that promo is going to be from tomorrow through the middle of September, or while supplies last. We have a limit. And so I'm going to tell WCBT about that as well. But we did cover that in our last week operations call with them to make sure that those people do not get invoiced for the installation. I'm sure there's more going on in marketing, but I think those are the main topics. There's a lot. Any questions? Okay. So finally, parking lot. Nothing on the parking lot has been updated other than the last one on CVOEO. I have the a couple of things. The 25 and 26 will get attention once I'm through this audit, or through being critical path on the audit.
Yeah.
For some items. Steve.
Yeah, item 14.
Yep.
I think that the slide deck you showed, and you'll be showing shortly to the VCVB, I think under any circumstances, you expect that we're going to decrease our installation charge to $99.95?
I wouldn't go that far. You're quite right, Steve. I did complete the modeling to determine that financially we can support it. Whether or not we wish to do that is another question. Because we might, for example, keep it where it is and do promos where we reduce it. And there's some other things that we might. There were some other ideas that London Middlebury had around trying to think of how to talk about it without giving too much detail in public session. But there's some other ideas that they had that may not. It may constrain our ability to do some of those other things if we do that. So I think. You're right that I've taken the first step in modeling to understand better the impact of it. And then the next work now is to consider all the options for what we could do and come back with recommendations on recommendations or options for the executive committee to discuss and decide what we ought to do.
So let's say that you reach that conclusion. What are the mechanics? Do we need a governing board to approve that? Do we need the executive committee to approve it?
That's a great question, Steve. I don't think that we have a policy on pricing changes, but my understanding of our bylaws is that is not pricing changes. I don't believe is one of the matters reserved for the governing board. We can double check, but I don't think that was one of the matters reserved for the governing board. So then the executive committee could decide, but you can always. For something like this, which is a big political change, you may wish to either inform or take it to the governing board as a formality.
Yeah, I think we need to be the latter. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the other one on here, 22, reviewing the 5-year operational plan. We had talked about that before as being something that we would do post-BEAD, and I think that we should, hopefully within the next month or so, we should have a better sense of what's going to be happening or not happening with BEAD. Oh, the other thing, just speaking of looking ahead, is this is the time of year, August and September, when we need to start thinking about the budget for next year. The reason being, Lynn, your newest treasurer, but the CUD statute requires us to go through a number of steps in relation to our budget. So by the end of the month of October, we need to distribute our draft budget as well as our draft current year pro forma, so projected close, and draft annual report out to our member towns, which means that work usually starts mid to late August. So that's sort of that's on my horizon. Obviously, the really time critical thing right now is the audit, and the other really good thing with the budgets is that they become at least the operating budgets become much easier, having been in operation for a while, because we can look and see what the past couple of years actuals have been. So that's not a tremendous amount of work. The hard part of the budget is going to be the capital part of the budget, because we're not going to know on BEAD until who knows, right? But we will do the best of the information that's available to us to put forth a draft budget, and then we have to review that at our in November with a public meeting, and then we submit the final by the end of December. So, I mean, it really is, we just need to get our budget for next year out by the end of December, but there's public comments, mandated distribution and public comments bits that we have to comply with as a CUD. So I guess that's my update under other business. I was just giving the update on that, or the look ahead on that. So anyone else have any other business for the next 3 minutes? Otherwise, our next meeting is 2 weeks' time on August 20th, and we can adjourn and get out into this lovely, hot day.
Thanks, guys. See you in a couple weeks.
Everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.